From 4 News Now, with live updates throughout the day, breaking news as it happens, and weather every 10 minutes. This is KXLY Plus.
Good afternoon for 4 News Now. I'm Rob King. My guest today is an extremely talented, funny actor-comedian. You may know her from Abbott Elementary, but she's playing 4 stand-up comedy shows at the Spokane Comedy Club starting this Friday. Give it up to, there's no audience, but Lisa Ann Walter. Lisa Ann, thanks for hopping on. Appreciate it.
You're so welcome. I'll applaud myself.
I'll applaud you too. You deserve it.
I appreciate it.
You've had a very full career. How did you get started in stand-up? I know that was like the first thing that you started doing for your career-wise, right?
No, I was an actress first. I worked professionally as an actor from the time I was a teenager, really. I started doing musicals and dinner theater, and then I went to college to study acting at the Catholic University of America and in DC, near where I grew up. And I was working in theater in DC and then in New York off Broadway. And then I got pregnant. And so which is something that it turns out I do quite well. 4 kids and counting. Actually, 4 kids and done. But anyway, after I had my son, right out of college, it was the height of the comedy boom. And I had a friend that I went to college with who started doing stand-up and who was lurking around behind me. Everybody loves to come in the room when I'm doing an interview. It's wild. That's some of the kids, by the way, behind me. But anyway, I started doing stand-up because it paid. It was a way to perform. I had a friend who was doing it that said to me, you should be doing this. If anybody I know should be, it should be you. And I was I was really young to have had kids and be married. And so I was doing that material in New York where nobody was married and had kids. I mean, there was really only about 25 female comics working in during that time in the 80s. And hardly anybody was married. I mean, Roseanne and who else? Who else was married?
Ellen, I would assume, was doing probably stand-up at that time. So
who was?
Ellen?
Ellen, yes, but not married or kids.
No.
So, yeah, there were women, obviously, that we all knew about, and Rita Rudner, and then there were all the originals, like, that I used to watch when I was a kid, like Joan Rivers and Phyllis Diller. But the ones that were working, stand-up clubs all over the country, few and far between. So I started being successful at it really quickly. Like I did national TV shows and, it's Showtime at the Apollo, which was as a feature performer, not an amateur. And so I continued to do it. And then that got me the offer to come out and star in TV shows in LA. So it's what brought me to the LA game, but it was not my first performance art.
You kind of touched on this, but who were some of those people that inspired you to get on stage and go for it?
Well, the person who actually said you should consider doing this for a living was Bobcat Goldthwait. And it was when he was in Cape Cod. I moved to Cape Cod with my then boyfriend, became my husband, for about a year so I could get money to move to New York to be an actress. And they were shooting a movie up there, which is actually how I got my SAG card, because I was doing extra work. And then one day the director said, I need Lisa to say, and I was like, I'm getting my SAG card. But Bobcat was on that movie, and it was a restaurant where we had to dress up in costume. Like, it was called Starbucks, but it wasn't the coffee place. It was just a restaurant, and that was their kitsch. That was their thing. And I took it seriously. Me and my boyfriend were like really doing it. Like, he would wear a union suit and put like a fireman's hat on and be a fire engine. I would dress up like Madonna, like with the full rubber bracelets, like a virgin.
So kind of like that diner in Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, a little bit like that. Like I would do Marilyn, and I would wear like the wig and a 60s dress and the whole thing. Like we had fun with it. And so, but I was always funny when I waited tables, and Bobcat said, you should come to Boston with me and try doing this professionally. I think you'd really be good. But I didn't do it for another about year and a half. And then my friends from college said, definitely do this. But I mean, the people that I aspire to be like, you know, the ones that I grew up listening to that I had their albums were weirdly not the women. It was Richard Pryor and George Carlin.
Sure,
Those are
just
the ones that
great comedians of the time, regardless of whether they were a man or a woman.
yeah, and I mean, I loved Roseanne because she was different. I know we're not supposed to say we like her now, but when, you know, in those times, you know, she was the one that had a TV show that I felt looked like the mothers that I knew. It looked real to me. And all of the other sitcoms when they showed mothers and working moms, they didn't feel like people that I knew. So like TV show wise, that was the show.
Now, you're also,
Yeah.
speaking of TV, on ABC's hit Abbott Elementary. Was that something that you could kind of feel in the room when you first started doing it? Like, there's something here, or did the success of that surprise even you?
Yeah, I mean, it did not surprise me. And I know, listen, I'm hugely grateful. And the fact that any show makes it on the air, much less becomes a monster hit, is just a miracle anymore because so many things are done for streaming. Streaming does 10 episodes and then everybody has to wait 2 years till the next batch of 10 comes out. So making a living doing it is hard. I mean, really, it sounds like oh, poor baby. No, seriously, what they pay on streaming and how much you have to pay out in taxes and to your people, and then only doing 10 and waiting 2 years, it's rough. I'm on a network show. I don't have to worry about my bills. It is a blessing. And I know how lucky I am, but you could feel it when we shot the pilot. We were all like, this is this is good. You always
Awesome.
have to be optimistic when you're an actor. Like you can't ever
Sure.
go to do it like
But you
this is
gotta think it's
hard.
only gonna succeed if everyone in the room thinks it's gonna succeed.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
The first thing I saw you in, 1998's The Parent Trap. You are the hero of the story, playing Chessie. Did you foresee maybe 30 years later Chessie becoming now a fashion icon?
No. No, I did not. And in fact, if I'm being entirely honest, which is the only way I know how to be, I kind of I did not love Chessie's wardrobe. That's my own
Sure.
beast that I'm dealing with. It was my own internal beast. I talk about it in the book that I wrote. The best thing about my ass is that it's behind me, which is about women and self-esteem. And really, because I struggled with being the fat kid when I was growing up, I always wanted to look my thinnest in movies and, you know, oh, if I'm sexy, they'll like me. And if I'm not, then I'm a failure. And it was really my own deal, right? Because I remember the first big movie that I did was with Whoopi Goldberg, and I was in like 4-inch stilettos where I had to run outside of Madison Square Garden and then run all the way inside and do stairs in Madison. And I was in these big high heels that were killing me. And she took one look at my feet and was like, "Girl, what are you doing? You need to be in these." And she pointed to her Birkenstocks. And I'm like, "No, seriously, when I'm a grandma, well, I'm not wearing those." But she was right because the idea of just being loosely comfortable, I think they call it like coastal grandma now. Well, I mean, there's a name for the Chessie look, which is hashtag
Sure.
Chessie core. I mean, people are doing it on purpose. And I look at it now and I go, what was I fighting? It was cute. It was comfy.
Yeah,
Nothing
the
wrong with
oversized
it.
denim shirt, it's a good look now. I wear it, everybody
People,
wears it now.
the kids are all doing it, boys and girls.
I got to assume one of your greatest career accomplishments is winning Celebrity Jeopardy.
Listen, I'm gonna flip this screen around. I don't know if anybody's gonna look at what we're shooting, but
Here we
that's my,
can.
it's across the room right there where I can see it when I watch TV.
Did you have to train to win Celebrity Jeopardy, or do you just have those questions in your head? Or are you just a good trivia buff?
I'm a good trivia buff. I have a crap load of useless information stored somewhere in the transom. Like, you know, the SpongeBob episode where he has to remember a bunch of stuff and then there's one thing too many and his brain like
Sure.
explodes.
Yeah,
So
his brain's running like an office.
yeah, exactly. Like with
Yeah.
drawers, filing cabinets and stuff. That's what my brain is like. Like I don't know why I know some of this stuff. Some of it I can pinpoint, like, oh, it's because I watched The Six Wives of Henry VIII when I was
Sure.
7, and I retained all of it for some reason. And then my mother, who was a public school teacher in DC, would pick up wherever what we were watching or listening to on talk radio, wherever that left off, she would continue the lesson and start teaching me about stuff. Whether I wanted to, it's not like I asked for it. She just started doing it, and then it stuck. And the weird thing is, if I study, there's no guarantee I'm going to retain it. Like, absolutely no guarantee. If I sat there and went, okay, let me memorize all the state capitals, like, unless I put it to a song or something, I'm not going to remember it. But the stuff that's in there, it's just in there. And then it's a question of, did they pick a category that I knew?
Sure.
And in my case, a final Jeopardy question that I knew, I was the only one who knew the answer to. And can you get the buzzer quick enough, which nobody tells you that's half the battle.
That looks like the hardest part. Sometimes you see people really like trying, just not getting it.
Yep. It's really hard. And I didn't realize before I played the game that you can't answer the question until they finish or, the other way around with Jeopardy. But they have to finish the word, the last word, and then you can buzz in. But if you do it too early, they like block you out.
Oh, like so you can't answer at all.
Yeah, for a few seconds. And then by that time, somebody else has buzzed in.
Sure.
So it's wild.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Lisa Ann, you've been very generous with your time. Before I let you go, is there anything else you want to add?
No, just I'm looking forward to meeting the people from Spokane. I can't wait to be up there. I'm hoping, look, I was looking at the weather today, and a lot of places that I travel to when I'm doing stand-up, the first thing they say is it's muggy, which I'm used to from where I grew up. And I always say it's a great name for it because the weather mugs you. It steals your hairdo and your soul. But when I was looking at the weather map this morning, I noticed that your neck of the woods looks beautiful. So I'm very much looking forward to getting up there.
We have summer weather officially beginning today, and it's a drier heat here, which you wouldn't think because of all the trees and everything, but not as humid.
I love it. I'm ready to go, so come out and see me.
Awesome. Well, you can catch Lisa Ann Walter at the Spokane Comedy Club Friday and Saturday, 2 shows both days. Tickets, you can find the link to that on this article. If you missed some of the interview, the full thing's up on kxly.com. Lisa Ann, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.